Now, if you are a game dev, an animator, an artist, you're probably wondering, am I learning the right things or am I going to be left behind? That is a very good question, and I've been in the industry for many years, AAA, indie. I have my own game studio. We have our own animation co-dev studio that we hire people in, and I have seen a lot of people succeed in this environment, and I have seen a lot of people fail. And in this video, I'd like to talk to you and show you some of the things that can future-proof your career so you can succeed in this unknown world that we live right now. So, if this sounds interesting to you, let's get to it. So before I get started, I want to mention about 3 resources that I hope that it will help you guys to kind of navigate this world. 2 of those are courses. I've put out 2 courses, one on motion capture, another one on showreels, that go much more in depth on everything that I'm going to mention here. And the third resource is actually Rekindled. We have an animation co-dev studio called Rekindled that is always looking for new candidates. Link down below if you'd like to apply. And if you're not ready to apply, go and check out those courses because it might help you out in your journey. Now, back to the video. So why this idea of future-proofing your skills matter so much? Things are changing. The industry is changing. We all know this between AI and the industry, the games industry, the films industry, the VFX industry. I feel like every single video that I talk in here in this channel lately has been about the change of things. And then there's also fewer roles in the industry and there's higher expectations. And what all of this is saying is that we're starting to actually want more quality and less quantity. Because this is what happens normally when things contract. Only the people up top, only the people that actually have future-proofed their skills and are learning and are doing the best work they possibly can eventually just survive at that top layer, right? So this would involve people that actually like to solve issues instead of just being given tasks and then making them. And this is an important differentiator, these things that I just mentioned, because I talk about it in the videos that I talk about AI, I talk about it in the videos that I talk about the state of the industry, and is you being in this state where you're always learning and you're always kind of like adapting to things. I think is essential nowadays, especially given the fact that the industry is doing just that, changing, adapting, and moving really, really fast. And I think this sense of speed is not going to slow down. If anything, is going to speed up. So once again, I think it requires somebody that doesn't like to be comfortable so much and likes to be uncomfortable in the knowing that they don't know everything. And that's a really important skill to have. And it hurts and it's painful and it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And this is why having a cushy job, being paid, just sitting down, doing your work, getting paid, getting the paycheck feels so much more comfortable and feels unfair when you cannot do that. But I genuinely think that the people that will thrive in this environment is going to be the people that actually feel very much that there is a problem and needs to be solved. How can we solve it? So for this first section, know that future-proofing your skills doesn't mean that you have to understand or get the future perfectly. But what it does mean is that you need to make sure that your skills stay relevant when the software is changing. And this is what we're going to talk about in this next section. So I think that there are skills that unfortunately are going to die out. And it's not going to be the animation skills. It's not going to be the things that you actually will love. I think it's going to be just certain expectations are going to die out, because I genuinely feel like being just good at keyframing is no longer good anymore. And it's good in the beginning for sure. Definitely if you're a new animator, perfect your animation craft and be the best animator possible, because that's the foundation for everything else that I'm going to say. However, it used to be just enough for you to be a good animator. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. Following tutorials and being really good in trying to replicate something, that also is not going to be good anymore. And I think people are going to start wanting you to think outside the box and create something very unique, very different. And for that, following a tutorial is no longer enough. And then the software. The software has always been like a linchpin for all of us, especially from the early 2000s, because it was new, it was fresh. And I remember perfectly in the early 2000s, Maya was the future. And if you learned Maya, you know, you could actually work in films, you could work in games, you could work in VFX, and that's it. That was going to be the future. But most of you watching this right now most likely have tried Blender, are probably using Blender, probably think Blender is better than Maya. And this is kind of how things are changing now. And Blender is free and it's open source and it's a community-based piece of software. It's only going to get better. There's so many more people working on Blender than there are at Autodesk working in Maya. So there's a natural kind of transition there. Unreal is free, Blender is free. And then I think this specific software being the hero of this one section is going to become less and less of a thing. And I think we're going to move towards like a software agnostic future where your skills are what matters most, not the piece of software that you use, which used to be something big when, at least when I started, how much do you know of Maya? That was a big thing back then. Nowadays, not so much. So having said all that, what are game studios, film studios, VFX studios looking for right now that I can share with all of you based on all this experience in the studios and all the stuff that I've seen before? So number one, for games specifically, is animators that understand gameplay. I think that cutscenes, for me, from my perspective, I think cutscenes are going to end up being more of an outsource factor. There used to be animators that were cutscene specific in games, and then there were gameplay animators, in games. And then those two departments could either work together or separately. I think that this cutscene area of gameplay is going to be outsourced, just like film does a lot of the time with your Weta's and your Lucasfilms and stuff. Because it's been that way here in games for quite a while. It's just kind of like undercover. So for example, when I was working in Horizon Zero Dawn, I was not working with Guerrilla, I was working with Axis in Scotland, which was a VFX studio that specializes in cinematics, or was actually, because it's no longer around. And it's the same thing for many studios around the world. And because it was the case already, now the studios are trying to save money. I think it's going to become more and more of a thing, which tells me, if I'm right, gameplay animation is going to become even more important than it was before. Now, you understanding gameplay becomes super crucial, and to actually be the best gameplay animator out there, you need to understand design. When I started, you just had to animate and then pass the animations over to a tech animator or to a designer, and then they'll put it in game and that's it. Animators are starting to implement more and more of their animations and having to start to understand the technical side of the game. And this helps you a ton. I was against it initially, but I worked at DICE and we were, for the most part, technical animators more than animators. And that understanding of the technical side of games helped me appreciate games so much more. And this is really crucial because if you want to be the best gameplay animator possible, you need to understand what design is trying to achieve and how you can meet in the middle with your animations. You kind of understand all the way down to how it's being implemented, the timing, the metrics. And those things become very powerful for you. So you understanding more about design, but also animation and gameplay, then basically makes you a better animator as a result. And then the last thing that I think you need to have as a gameplay animator, once again, we're not talking about cinematics or any type of animator, like we're talking just about gameplay animation, is the ability to fix issues. A lot of animators are still stuck on this idea of just I did my animation, I checked my animation, everything's correct, can you tell me what's wrong? Animation and code a lot of the times butt heads. And the reason why we butt heads a lot of the time, and I understand where both sides are coming from, code just wants something practical and functional, so give it to me. And animation wants something beautiful and that we don't want the game to interfere with. It's beautiful by itself, so when you put it in game, it needs to be beautiful, but then when you put it in game, it's broken. So why is my beautiful thing not in game? So then we butt heads, right? However, I think that you actually getting to know much more about this layer of design and implementation and all that stuff means that when they ask you a certain question, you know more or less where the problem is, and maybe you can point it out to them that maybe it was the transition, maybe it was the blend, maybe it was the logic behind it, maybe there is a blueprint node that perhaps is not really well set up, and you can tell them, look, I've done it this way before, I think this might work, and they might do it, because then those beautiful animations that you made end up translating to game much more. And a good example of this is actually in Japan. Most animators have this technical know-how of implementation as well. And they've been doing it for many years, way, way ahead of us. And I think this is where we're heading as well. Now, talking about technical awareness, I want to make clear to everybody watching that you don't have to become a technical animator in order to know these things, because those are two different roles. An animator animates and a tech animator implements or rigs. The two things are not connected. So don't think that because you have to do this technical stuff that you have to lose the love that you have for animation. If you want the animations to translate to game as best as possible, learn what goes in the engine, learn how those things translate, so you can then basically reverse engineer those things and put in your animation in a way that works. So if you want to do like an idle, a loop, and another idle or a settle, you need to know exactly what the system needs, because every game has a very different system. And then you can basically give the engine the animations that it needs in order for animations to shine. And once again, the tech animator team, somebody with more technical know-how than you, will probably implement those things. So pick their brains and basically make sure that you ask them, so how do you do these things? And how does it make it tick? And when it goes into engine, what kind of blueprints are you using? Be more familiar with motion matching. Be more familiar with runtime animation. How does it work? Root motion is another one that is really big. And finding out about basic debugging and loading the build and finding out exactly, being able to slow down your animations, being able to showcase the capsule of the character, find out visually via a debug command, exactly where the transition is wrong, so you can talk to somebody and say, look, I think this is the problem. My animation is this, but in game it looks like this. Work in a way that you can pick somebody's brain, somebody that is more technical than you, so you can start learning these things as you go through it. Now, number 3, this one is very highly underrated, but very, very important. And this is to do with the human aspect of it all in this industry, because there's a lot to be said about you having really good communication skills, especially given the fact that we are all kind of working at home sometimes, and it's difficult to connect with people. But most importantly, the ability to actually communicate animation decisions or animation like feedback or anything to do with animation in a way that people understand. Because what YouTube has taught me the most out of all things is that the things that you have in your mind, even though they are very clear to you because of the way that you think, to other people they might make no sense whatsoever, and it might confuse them more by you telling them what you think. Because what this communication layer does is that if you one day become a lead or a director, it makes your team feel good on the long run, and games take a long time. So for you to keep a team happy for years takes a lot of somebody, believe me. I've been doing it for a while, but it's incredibly satisfying when you do it, because you realize that your communication skills and the things that you say and how you say it mean a lot. And this is small things, it can be how you make a review, how you review somebody's work. So if you have those skills, studios will see that skill as gold, because it's not so much something that you can learn, it's something that is innate to you, because you have to have a certain amount of pizzazz, I guess is the word, that you have the skills, you are good at what you're doing, and you know the knowledge, but then to not be a douche about it. Does that make sense? It's all to do with us working together. It's not about me, the lead or the director, look at me, I've done all these things. It's about the team. Can I keep the team together feeling good? And ultimately on this section, I want to say that these animators that are in this way, that follow all the steps that I mentioned before, they are so valuable that teams cannot afford to lose them. That's how valuable they are. If you are talented, if you can do all these things, communication and output and all these other things, you become a little bit of a gem. And no matter what happens, studios will go, we better let go this and this person before we let go of this one. And this is where you want to be at all times. Now, what would I focus on if I wanted to start over again, which I think is basically what you're here for at the end of the day? I think that the most important thing for sure is definitely you starting with the fundamentals. Animation is still animation. Animation is not going to change. We still need the 12 principles. We still need to have a lot of skills, and we still need a lot of ideas that are outside of the box. Ideas that other people cannot have, only you can have. And we need those ideas in this industry. And the smaller we become, the more we need those, because then those are the people that actually stand out the most. Also, what we need is gameplay literacy, knowing about gameplay. How does it work? Be curious. Always look at the latest tech, latest Unreal updates, latest Unity updates, latest workflows, techs, pipelines. Be curious. And then make sure that you actually choose one specialist place that you want to put all of your energy in instead of choosing 10 different ones. Because I genuinely believe that, especially with this AI situation, that the more specialized you become, the more valuable you're going to become. Because what this AI trend is doing is basically telling everybody that with a click of a button, I can create amazing things. And unfortunately, history says that in order for you to create amazing things, you have to spend time crafting and getting the knowledge and doing it the hard way in order to actually have something worthwhile in the end and having a career out of it in the end. And I don't know exactly how this is going to happen, but eventually we're going to go back to this place where we realize that one-click button doesn't really solve all the issues. We need humans, we need ideas, we need creativity, and we need this hard grind to get to the place where we need to be, and animation takes a lifetime. So make sure that you have one specialist thing, animation, and if you're not an animator, a level designer, an artist, or whatever, so you can be the best you can be at this one thing, and then you are going to be very needed and very wanted for this one thing. And also on your show reels, on your personal projects, on your game jams, make sure that you have projects that showcase thinking, not just polish, not just wow, but showcase that you understand gameplay, you understand workflows, you understand how things kind of get put together. Because if you showcase that, when you go to an interview, people will ask you about this thinking instead of just being amazed by what they see. They'll be like, but how did you actually do this thing? I mean, I'm intrigued because it took us 3 years to get to this tech, but now you did it here in like a month or two, and how and then you can explain to them exactly how you got to their place, and they're going to be even more amazed with your process, because I'm pretty sure it took a lot of hard work and a lot of thinking and a lot of test trials and a lot of hard work to get there. And this is what studios want to see, because if you did that for yourself out of passion, imagine what you could do for them when they pay you the big bucks to go and work for them, right? So to close it out, this industry, the games industry, will always keep changing, and it's changing at a pace that is accelerating and not slowing down. But what's in your control right now is if this changes, if these skills that you have will grow with this industry, or will they be stale and you're going to be left behind? And that's ultimately what you have to ask yourself. Being stubborn in this age, in time, it's the worst thing that you can do for yourself. You're gonna find yourself like stopped and stale and frozen in time, and people in tech and games will keep on moving forward. You need to actually adapt quickly and get out of your head and basically focus on those things that you can produce, because things will move on and it's up to you to decide if you're going to stay or keep up with it. And that's all I had for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, as you know very well. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, because there's a lot of people here that are watching these videos and are not subscribed. And also give it a like. Likes help a lot with the algorithm. And also drop a comment down below and let me know how you feel about this subject of today. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until the next video, stay well, stay safe. Peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip, and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of betterness.